It is the 20th anniversary of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the third film in the prequel trilogy. It probably,
69.
the most loved of the prequel films, where we finally get to see the showdown between Obi-Wan and Anakin. We finally get to see Anakin transform into Darth Vader. I still think it's a very flawed film, but it's in theaters with a popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
Alan, you saw it last night. Tell me your thoughts. I did not get into a theater. Nearly completely sold out. I did sneak in just to see how it looked. It looked phenomenal on the big screen. Alan, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen Revenge of the Sith, so I don't need to necessarily talk about the story, but it's hard not just to sit there and realize how bad Disney Star Wars is when watching this. This is Attack of the Clones. I love episodes 1 through 6. Even Phantom Menace, I'm a really big fan of. I will admit, Attack of the Clones, the worst movie. It's a bad movie. But watching it, it just harkens back to just how much the reasons why I love Star Wars in the first place, and to see where Disney Star Wars has been taken. This one, the reason I like this one, and the reason I like the episodes 1 through 3, is because it had something to say. And in this one, this movie is all about the turn of Anakin into Darth Vader. And just the pieces, the little things the Emperor does to just turn Anakin against the Jedi, and then to finally pull out that plan, and then the tragic way at the end in which Anakin becomes Darth Vader, to me is it's this idea that this is what the sequel should have been. There should have been some element of this where you latched on to an idea and you just ran with it. But the problem with sequels is you just didn't get that sense. You don't know why we moved from 7 to 8 and from 8 to 9. There was no real thread or spine to it. And this is just the culmination of it all. I will say, George Lucas cannot write romance for the life of him. The moment,
true.
So Anakin is back after rescuing the Chancellor Palpatine, and he goes back to Padme in one of the most awkward romantic scenes ever made for film. There's a point where they talk about love, and how much he's in love with her, and then she says she feels ugly because she's pregnant, and he sees her as beautiful, and then the thing ends with, oh, then you're blind because love is blind. And I'm like, oh god, this is awful. This is such cringy love dialogue. Other than that, though, Yoda is the star of this movie for me, because he's the one with a major character arc. The whole, getting the twins off to Tatooine and Alderaan. Look, again, we've all seen it, so I'm spoiling the ending. I will admit, the moment in which Obi-Wan delivers Luke to Owen and Beru, and then he takes Luke up to the top, and they see the 2 moons of Tatooine, or the 2 suns of Tatooine, and I started choking up. It was like, oh, this is this is kind of the look. I'm the one who liked episodes 1 through 3, except, I mean, generally like it more than most people do, and this is just the culmination of that. I am so glad, and I am going to take my daughter to see this movie.
Well, I will see it in the theater. I was unable to last night. I had other movies I had to see, but yeah, this is of the 3. This, I think, is the best. But here's what's weird about the prequels: they had their moments. They had stuff. You mentioned the dialogue, the romance dialogue. Yes, it's terrible, but there are other things that are so great. Action sequences. The prequels have the best lightsaber duels of all of Star Wars. the lightsaber duels.
Because there were more than 3 total in 4 through 5.
They're
4 through
so
6.
good. They're
Yeah.
so good. The best ones. And there are so many great moments in the prequels combined with terrible eye-rolling cringe and god-awful stuff. But there's stuff that really works and is amazing. So I will say that having watched Andor season 2 recently, that the political Machiavellian things happening behind the scenes with the Senate and all that is better done in Andor season 2 than in this. However, this leads into all this stuff connects. That's why I think I think the prequels have aged well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so. I think the prequels have aged well, as opposed to, we're also, by the way, this year is the 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens. Are we celebrating that?
No.
So I don't know. I first of all, I cannot wait to. It is sold out tonight on a Friday.
Oh, you should come down here. We've got the early screenings are open down here.
That's okay. I want to see it with a packed audience. I want a bunch of people there. I saw people there.
Go to a different theater. There's seats available.
People were dressed up, wearing T-shirts, had popcorn buckets. It's a celebration. So I think I will say
one comment. Okay. You know, I remember when The Acolyte came out, and it's that lightsaber battle between Keemer and Saul, and the internet blew up about this being the greatest lightsaber battle ever. And you watch Revenge of the Sith. Duel of the Fates was great. Revenge of the Sith has some really great that final battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Just the fact that it's awkward locations in which they have to fight. They have to climb a tower. They're standing on these platforms over lava and just kind of staring at each other, waiting for their platforms to get close to each other. You know, the thing about lightsaber battles, that the reason they work is because there's a story being told with them. That is just not choreography. Someone's saying, hey, this move would look great. This move would look great. No, there's a reason why. And what's great about the battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin is that Obi-Wan is the steadfast Jedi. And so he is a certain style in which he fights with a lightsaber, while Anakin fights with passion. Fights with anger, fights with hatred. And that's what makes that such a great battle, is because there are very different styles now going up against each other. And the question is, how is Obi-Wan possibly going to overcome this very passionate, angry person?
Well, I can't wait to see it again. I think, I'll say that the prequels are littered with some of the greatest Star Wars moments ever.
Some of the worst,
combined with some of the worst Star Wars moments ever, which is really, when George made the prequels, there was no one around him to say no. The first 2 Star Wars movies, he had Marsha Lucas, who basically made Star Wars in the editing room. He made that a watchable film. It was not in its rough assembly. It was a mess. And Gary Kurtz was another person who could say, no, George, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
There was no one saying no to the bad ideas in the prequel films, which is why so many editors have made like the Phantom edit or re-edits of the prequels, because when you cut out the garbage, there's a decent film in there, right? There's a decent film in there. And I'll argue this. Here's a point I made on Drinker Show, that the problem with Jar Jar Binks is this. The first movie, The Phantom Menace, I like that film as well. I like that. I think that may be my favorite of the prequels, and I'll tell you why. It's unfiltered George. No one was saying you can't do this, you can't do that, whatever. And let me get to my point here. The problem with Jar Jar is this, twofold. One, George was so obsessed with Jar Jar, he gave the Joseph Campbell hero's journey to Jar Jar. Every beat of the hero's journey that you map out on with Joseph Campbell, what he laid out is the hero's journey. That was Jar Jar's character, the refusal of the call, the leaving home, returning a hero, all those things. That was Jar Jar did all that. And I would argue this. I remember when I saw the first scene where they meet Jar Jar, there were two things. One, the voice was annoying. Jar Jar's voice is based kind of on Barney the dinosaur. And as a parent to two young kids at the time when the movie came out, I hated Barney the dinosaur. I'd hear it in the background in that shrill Barney the dinosaur voice. There's a great documentary on Peacock called I Love You, You Hate Me about Barney. You'll be shocked. Watch that doc series. Really good. But that voice, so the voice acting was not good, and the screen time. Every Star Wars movie has stuff that's cute, has comic relief. If you put C-3PO in as many scenes as Jar Jar was in episode 4, if you had C-3PO, you would be annoyed with C-3PO. The problem with Jar Jar is screen time. If you cut his screen time down by less than half, maybe a third, take a third of his scenes and just keep those, Jar Jar would be fine. And if you change the voice, things that
and you'd have a 90-minute movie, which it made
there's not much to cut, but cut him down. He's not that bad, and kids do like Jar Jar. So I think get a different voice actor, cut his scenes down. There is an you can probably find it online, a thing called Star Wars The Phantom Edit. I think it's the West Coast or East Coast version. Someone re-edited episode 1, and they not only changed Jar Jar's voice, they subtitled him. They cut all the stupid scenes like him stepping in poop, all the dumb scenes with Jar Jar, his tongue getting caught places, the ones that made him look dumb, and they made him into a proud warrior race. And the subtitle, it's a completely different movie when you do that. George could have saved episode 1 and Jar Jar the character if he had other people around him to give him better ideas, because George has no shortage of good ideas, but they're not all good. So there's my explanation of Jar Jar. And
so why did people hate you for it? I mean,
no, I think I explained it well.
No, I don't understand why people were criticizing what you just said.
Because people just want to hate on stuff.
They want to hate on it. Yeah, you and Snarky.
Yeah. I got a bigger question.
Yeah.
Answer this for me. As a kid, when I learned that they were Jedi Knights, Obi-Wan spoke of the Jedi Knights, a different time. My imagination, my head went wild. What did the Jedi Knights look like? What were their costumes? Did they wear armor? What were they like? And then when the prequels came around, we found out that the Jedi Knights, the protectors of peace in the galaxy, dressed like farmers on Tatooine.
Oh, come on.
They dress like farmers on Tatooine.
No. Sure. They need to be ornate. They need to be in full armor. No, the whole point is Jedi don't need that stuff. They're simple people. That's why they wear robes and a belt. They don't need the accessories. Robes, belt, and a lightsaber, and you can defeat anybody. That's the other thing. The first episode 1. I think even George mentioned it, but I think he said that he made it for kids, and I can attest to that because when the 10th anniversary of Phantom Menace came out, my daughter was 7, and I took her to see it, and she liked Phantom Menace. I wouldn't say loved, but she liked Jar Jar, and and I think, and also the fact that Anakin was a child in the movie also relates to kids. I don't know if that was the wisest decision to made, but it was the decision that was made. And, I think he was trying to bring in a young generation into Star Wars, and that was episode 1.
I will say there is a generation that the prequels and when it's like when kids.
Yeah, when you were a kid.
It impacted them more. And there's a really good documentary I will recommend, not just because I'm in the documentary. It's called The Prequels Strike Back. A young filmmaker from Texas made this movie because when he was a kid, he loved the prequels. He loved them. He saw all 3, Then he was like 14, 15 years old. He went online and he realized, who are all these people that hate the prequels? And he made this. I mean, this documentary changed my mind about a lot of aspects of the prequels. Seek it out. The prequels strike back. A film that really tries to justify that trilogy, and I think does a very good job. It'll make you look at things from a different point of view.